Okay, so we're gonna just review very importantly how to do family education on the topic of collective subconscious family fields. So why is this important? Because if you understand this, that means family, specifically mom, dad, and if there's a wife involved, wife or spouse, have the three strongest connections to a person with addiction, and the outcomes, and we have specific homework that can improve the outcomes by 80% in my experience. So family doing this type of homework, these 2 or 3 simple things, which I'll tell you, results in 80% better outcome in the patient or the client. Okay? So this is really important. If this homework is done consistently for about 6 to 8 weeks, is usually the time frame. So that's the reason to listen to very carefully to what I'm about to say. And at the end, I'll share with you the 3 things. This particular case is very, 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 very difficult in that there's 4 elements to what I consider treatment-resistant recovery. When people do all the things and they don't get better, I call that treatment-resistant recovery. I.e., someone who's doing all the right things, still not getting better. There is some critical blocks. Those blocks, in our experience, are usually in 4 areas. 4 or 5 areas, let's say. Area number 1, trauma and neglect. The growing up, trauma, neglect. That's usually one of them. Dissociation. Number 2, head injuries, especially at a young age, and especially more frequent head injuries, because they affect the ability to think, and a person never recovers emotionally. Number 3, complex family dynamics, when someone has a family situation that's complicated. And number 4, spirituality related blocks. So at NOM, we work at each of these. And number 5, I put that there, is when someone's actively using substances still, or they're heavily medicated. That's usually another reason. So when someone is in our inpatient program, we can work on each of these areas. So right now we're going to talk about just the family element of this. So how does it work? There is the conscious mind, and then there's the subconscious mind. Subconscious, conscious. Suchetman and Achetman. Suchetman, everything that we're aware of. Achetman, everything that we are not aware of. Which one's bigger?
Subconscious.
Yes. The subconscious is bigger, it's much bigger. How much bigger would you say? If this one is 10 units big, how much bigger is that?
It should be 50, I think.
Yeah, that's a lot of people will say that. Like 5 times bigger.
5 times bigger, yeah.
So, as a trauma therapist, as a center that has experience in treating trauma, we've learned that a human never forgets a single thing. Everything is remembered in life in very high definition, starting from before conception until today. When we deal with trauma, we oftentimes are dealing with roots, the root cause of addiction, the root cause, and it's oftentimes there, but where is it? Sometimes it's even in the womb. Something happened in the womb of the mother. Something that happened in the first year of life. Something that happened in the birth canal, on the delivery. Trauma gets buried everywhere, and where trauma starts, it gets added to. Humans don't forget a single thing, good or bad. If we relax a human deeply enough, oftentimes they'll be able to remember even meaningless data. So if I were to ask you how many chairs are in that waiting room, how many chairs would you say?
There's a couch and the 4 chairs.
Okay, great. Even though you didn't realize, you certainly weren't counting chairs when you were there, but it registered. That was sitting in your unconscious mind, subconscious mind, and then it became conscious when I asked the question. What I'm telling you is, it's 30 years from now, if I hypnotized you, deeply relaxed you, you'd be able to tell me. Even though it seems like a meaningless detail. If I ask you what color shirt you were wearing when you were on October 3rd, 2006, chances are a color will come to your mind. What color came to your mind?
Red.
If we were to do hypnosis, go back, deeply relax, you may well find that you're correct. We do this in various parts of the legal world, where people hypnotize to recall critical details like license plate numbers and whatnot. We're always remembering everything all the time, if we are relaxed enough to recall that information. So what that means is, human forgets nothing in life. It's all sitting there in high definition. Now, what that means is, this is actually trillions times bigger, because it's all sitting there. Whether you access it or not, it's still sitting there. So the subconscious is far more vast than what most people realize. And so the okay. So here's the thing. The subconscious does not exist in isolation. We know in addiction, there's a lot of pain and suffering and all sorts of things that leads to it. Addiction, mental health, lots of pain, suffering. I don't know you. I really don't know much about any of you. What I know is, that's what I feel, that's what I experience, and I certainly have been in clinical practice long enough, as a trauma therapist, as an addiction doctor, to know that it's complicated for the patient, but actually, nobody lives in isolation from each other. Just like he has a thing, a subconscious and unconscious, so too does his mother. So too does Dad. So too does a sibling. We exist together. The longer we've spent together, the more we integrate our subconscious. So I've known you for today. So, and maybe a few weeks here for him. So I'm kind of like this. Very little involved. Because I haven't spent much time. The vast majority of what's in any child's subconscious is mom and dad, because they're the originals. And any other adults that are there. And so what this creates is what we call an overlapping subconscious field. This is a field that all of you share. This is why family gatherings and family reunions, marriages, are they all relaxing? It's relaxing. Marriages, going in a function together, seeing all your family, is it always relaxing? Or is it stressful?
It depends. It can be relaxing or stressful.
Yeah.
It can be both.
It is both positive and negative, because both positive and negative is in this. Generally, though, if we're honest, this subconscious field works very much like a field of soil. What we plant into it is what's more likely to grow, truth or lies? What's more likely to grow? If an assertive conversation, is that likely to be met with blowing up in anger and arguments, or is it more likely to come with acceptance and peace? Is chaos in a field that has a bunch of lead in it, is a good crop going to grow? Is it? No. Something might grow, like weeds and stuff, but unlikely that a crop was going to grow and produce the yield that you want. So most families that I meet who have an addiction in one person, it's usually a whole family of conflict, because just like he has you, has your parents, you also have your parents and your siblings. Dad also has his parents, his siblings, and the rule is, if you haven't processed it in a healthy way, what happened, who did what, when, where, you automatically pass it on to the kids. So that's what they mean when they say that the disease is transmitted from generation to generation to generation. It's a generational disease. I don't know where all of this stuff comes from. What I know is there is a subconscious field. Now here's the trouble. Buddy goes to rehab. He learns something positive. Is a little bit of positive likely to grow inside all the negative? Or is it more likely to get snuffed out? If we teach a person, tell the truth. But if truth is met with, look at all of these things you did and destroyed and this and that, and then the stress goes up and the person addiction gets worse. So that's the leading sort of problem with current how we do treatment. If we teach this person a bunch and help them to plant a bunch of seeds, but they go back into a family system that doesn't change to fit, it often is hard for those seeds to grow. And seeds, when they get big, then they don't need support. Just like a tree. Once a tree gets big, it doesn't matter what's happening. But in the first year, couple of years, months, it really matters. If there's too much wind, if someone steps on it, those plants are very sensitive to the. So what we're trying to do is we're trying in recovery to plant the new seeds of recovery, new behaviors, new ways of doing things. And in a collectivist culture, like a South Asian culture, families are connected very, very deeply. Separate, right? You and you are separate people. Obviously, right? Right now there's a couple of us in this room, we're all separate. But we're sharing a subconscious connection. Communication is 99% nonverbal. This is why when you just suddenly go into someone's presence, blood pressure goes up, even though we haven't talked. I'm sure you've had that happen. It's like, they didn't say anything. You didn't say anything. But that doesn't stop your body from reacting because the information is being transmitted. All the history is being activated. That's all it takes. So, what is this? This is negativity. Resentment, anything negative. And at NAM, we have found when this negativity, as much as possible, is addressed using the simple things that we're about to share, 1, 2, and 3, that's doable, that doesn't take too many hours, the outcomes get 80% faster, better, deeper. And when I have someone who's really, really, really struggling to get it, the family involvement can change everything. But if I take a family that's charged with this kind of negativity and suffering, and I give them all the education about addiction, and I used to do that, what I found was is the family would consciously or subconsciously use that against them, and it would actually worsen their outcomes. The family would try to be helpful, but they would actually hurt the process. So we really, this subconscious negativity, we can consciously resent someone. I'll give you a good example of a subconscious resentment. Most parents love their kids. I'd say virtually all parents. Most mothers don't have a lot of resentment towards their kids. Many do consciously, but subconsciously, every parent resents their kids. Because life was free, could go what you like, eat what you like, did what you like, and all of a sudden now, that child has fixed your life. And now you can't do everything you like. You have to, especially for women, right? Like it changes everything. You have to give up things, you have to sacrifice. So what happens is the resentment builds. Every relationship in life is a mix of positive and negative. No relationship is 100% positive. Every relationship has some positive and some resentment and negativity. The number one thing in a child, every single child has a belief in themselves that they'll never share, but maybe they'll share if they're angry or intoxicated. But every single child has this strong belief. And that is, mom and dad are never going to change. You have that?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a deep, 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 deep belief. You got that? Yeah. Super deep belief. Think about your parents. You have it? Yeah. They're going to say the same annoying thing they're always saying, and they're never going to change. I've given up asking. Because I get mad, they don't change. Or I get mad. So this is a common belief of children about their parents. This belief in the world of addiction is tied to the deepest of roots of addiction. So these simple things I'm about to ask you to do, if you start doing them, you call into question every belief structure that's been built on that. Addiction if addiction is the foundation, so there's addiction, and what's the foundation of addiction? It's this belief. Mom and dad. You disturb the belief that mom and dad are not going to change, you start to question that belief by acting different, not by saying, but by acting different, and not by acting, but by being different, by doing different. I have seen the most difficult of addiction change, because no house can stand without its foundation. If there's a problem, whatever it is, behavior, thinking, but if it is based on this foundation and you shake it, the belief starts to, the syndrome starts to become changeable. It becomes shiftable by our methods. We work on this for sure, but if I can work on mom, dad, and spouse, it has a very powerful way to shift this. What I've learned though is I can't tell family members to do 8-hour courses of this or that. It doesn't work. Most families don't do them, and the ones that do use the information against the person, and it has not helped anybody get sober.
Yeah.
I had a person come to see me. He refused to come to see me, or he came drunk, told me off, said, this is garbage, I'm not coming here, refused to come. His wife came to see me, and I said, you know what, why don't you just do these things? She came back 2 weeks later, she's like, the first time in 20 years he hasn't drank. He didn't do anything. How is that possible? And then, in 3-6 months, he came. And then he did the program. He's still sober. But more important than sober, he's happy. He's at peace. He's enjoying his life.
Thank you.
Okay? But the thing is, it started with the family because he wasn't willing to do anything. But this is what it is. No one can stress a person out as much as their family. No one can support them as much as their family. No one can stress a family out as much as an addict. And no one can support that family with their recovery as much as an addict. So if we can start to shift the subconscious, which is easier to shift than the conscious mind. The conscious mind thinks as its subconscious mind functions. So, if we can shift the subconscious, and there's ways we can do it, and there's ways that we cannot do it, and I'm going to say that. If we can shift this, lots of stuff can shift. But here's the problem. I'll tell you the central problem. Because I've studied people who do religious prayers and stuff who still have a problem in their family. Or people who studied that in childhood and still have a problem. The logical conclusion is the prayers don't work. Or there's a flaw in the bani, or there's a flaw in the religion. Or there's a block in the person doing the action. It's one or the other. Either it doesn't work, or there's something this person's not doing or missing. And our conclusion is all that stuff works. There's a block. What is it? Information. If you can imagine, all of your parents' stuff that they didn't deal with, was there stuff they didn't deal with and they passed on? Yeah, of course there was. And was there stuff their parents didn't deal with and passed on? Totally. Way back in the day, if it was bad, it just ho gaya ki kariye na, we just so ho gaya. They didn't have treatment and they didn't think it was important. No one ever had any help. And so then these traumas add up and they get transmitted again and again. At some point, they make someone's so severe that they manifest in this problem. But the thing is if this is trillions of information, all of these trillions coming together is too much. It takes, I did the math once, how long do you think it takes to count 1 billion pennies?
1 billion seconds.
1 billion pennies. If you count at about 100 a minute, 100 pennies a minute. Just a guess, just a guess.
Half of that.
100 million.
100 million. Oh, that's smart math.
Let's guess.
It takes about 60 years.
Oh wow.
That's a billion. That's 9 zeros. And we're talking trillions. So it takes 60,000 years to consciously examine every thought in the subconscious structure. And as a trauma doctor, it takes roughly 20 minutes to fix each problem. So, do you have 60,000 years to wait for this issue to get better? No, you don't. Nobody does. And yet, if you do it consciously and try to just think your way out of it, this must be, maybe this is the problem, this is the problem, this is the problem, you're going to be doing it a long time. And it's still not going to work because it's just too much. So, what they discovered in AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, in 1930, because addicted people used to die despite the best of psychiatric care, despite the best of medical care, despite the best psychologists, despite the deepest religious experience. They were still dying, masses of them. They were being told that either you put yourself in an insane asylum or get a bodyguard who's going to punch you in the face if you try to go next to the drug or the alcohol. Who can afford that? But then this solution came, this 12-step thing, and they realized a way to make it work. And they helped a lot of people. Vast majority of treatment centers are 12-step based for this reason. Because to this date, we have not found anything that works as well as this for severe addiction. And then it works so well for addiction, there's been lots of adaptation to mental health. Everything I'm about to share comes from the family program of AA, Al-Anon. But it's important you understand how it works. And how it works is really simple. They figured out that you can't think yourself out of the problem. So what they figured out is, and the problem's big, so they figured out, okay, let's ask higher power to fix it. So we say, okay, I can't fix it, so God, higher power, Vaheguru, whatever that is, maybe you can fix it. But what they realize is that simple little asking is not straightforward. Because for an addicted person, first they took one prayer and they broke it into 12. Because it's too big of a step and there's problems. So the first step is we admitted we were powerless over the drug and we did not understand. Second is we asked something bigger than us to help us. Third step is we surrendered to that. Obviously you ask Vaheguru for help or you ask God for help, but if you haven't deeply inside, let go of a problem, you say, Vaheguru, fix this, and 20 other parts of you say, no, Vaheguru, don't fix this. Because humans, that's what sustains these negative thinking patterns. Many people have said, God, fix this, but God doesn't fix it. Because inside there's turmoil and there is a block that's related to trauma. When we fix that, this gets fixed. So in 12-step programs, this is all that we figured out. So this is what we do in treatment. Repetitively, in different ways, this is what we're doing, including with your loved one. We're teaching the skills, we're helping them get the subconscious stuff addressed. as much as we can. We're planting these seeds. But the trouble is, when he leaves, he goes back into that field. And no matter how many seeds we plant, they need time to grow, maybe years to grow. But if they go back into a field of negativity, and nothing changes. More frustration, more hurt feelings, more damage, more lies, more everything. So, what we figured out was, if we can get even one member of a family to do the same thing in a different way and address a bit of their problem, their subconscious stuff, which hasn't been addressed to date because there must be something that has not been addressed to date. So we give you some tools to help you target that so that it puts this stuff on the table, then all of a sudden we start addressing things. It's easier to imagine those seeds growing now. And if Dad were to do the same, can you see the difference?
Totally.
The field's health improves, and the two chief beneficiaries are the two kids. Mom and dad conflict, which is always there, is one of the chief contributors to the ill health of the children. You know, this is the stuff on the wedding day. The in-laws did, but they didn't appreciate. He did this, and he did this, and she did that. And we paid millions of rupees and dollars for weddings, and we all hate the weddings day because it's crazy. Our whole system is geared around this. But if we start replacing that with these three simple things, the block is released, and it's far easier for whatever he does do to stick. And if it can stick, the behaviors get less. Behaviors stop. Maybe he gets a job. Maybe he, gets on with life. But the thing is that deep belief system, mom and dad never going to change, we can put that into a question. And if dad were to do the same, it just happens faster and deeper. And eventually, and if other one is about to do the same, all of a sudden a family dynamic begins to become healthy. And all the pain you've carried until date stops going to next generation, to the grandkids and their grandkids. It stops. This is how it stops. But it can't just be the addict doing the work or the mentally ill person. I mean, it can. I'm not going to force anybody. But this is why 80% faster and better. And what am I asking? 3 simple things. The 3 simple things that I'm asking for a very certain affirmation and prayer. You've been doing pot a long time. Most mothers do a lot of pot. Like I said, either the pot doesn't work or there's a block. My experience is the pot works. There's clearly a block. And that's usually subconscious pain that you just don't put on the block for higher power to take. So we have certain affirmations that help families do that. It takes about 2 minutes to read. But you read it once a day, a couple of times a day, it'll train you how to release this. And I when I was in training, there was a family, a mother. A mother came, her daughter had not spoken to her. I just want to illustrate the power of this. Her daughter had not spoken to her in like 15 years. Lived in a different continent. No contact. Estranged. Severe problem. But for some reason the mother got it in her mind, I want to heal. I want to just heal my part of it. And so she went to a therapist, they did some of this trauma work, cleared up some of this stuff. And you know what happened? 2-3 weeks later, she called for no reason.
The daughter.
Yeah.
Oh.
I was just thinking about you, Mom. I don't know. 15 years, no contact. Because the subconscious mind is beyond time and space.
Yeah.
Even though Mom and Dad maybe passed away, they're still alive. Even the grandparents, their stuff still sits there.
Sits there. Totally.
But if we remove it, or if we detoxify it, or if we change it into something positive, then it can that connection to other people in this is very powerful, especially mothers. Mothers are the first teacher. Mothers are everything of a child. All the cells a kid has are mothers. Father contributes a little DNA. That's it. Rest is all mother. Mom and dad having conflict. Dad's not doing very good. Mom transmits it to the kids. It unbalances it. Not consciously, mothers love their kids, but nobody's perfect.
Unconscious.
And so then this system starts to shift. I'm not here to blame, I'm just here to sort of explain why families heal together and why I say addiction, mental health belongs to a whole family. And even though one member of the family seems like he's okay, he's carrying the same stuff. Unless he's done something to deal with it, he's probably going to transmit it too. Not all addictions are you go to jail for. Not all mental problems, some mental problems you get celebrated for, like workaholism.
Yeah.
People pay a lot of money for a workaholic smart guy. But that doesn't necessarily make me a good dad. That doesn't necessarily make me a good husband. That doesn't necessarily make me a good, healthy, functioning member of a family. That just means I don't got a problem people are going to put me down for. So, I'm going to share these 3 things. Does this make sense?
Totally.
So if there's a few small things that you can do, would you do them?
I would.
Even if he's
100%.
doing bad, even if he's up, down, left, right, center, after he leaves or whatever, you still do them for about 8 weeks. Would you do them?
100%.
If it would help.
Yeah.
I'm not asking for heart surgery. I'm asking for read a piece of paper for 2 minutes once a day.
I would.
So one is the affirmations. There's a blank in them. That's where higher power goes, Vaheguru, whatever it is you pray to. Second is a recording. Second is a recording. You listen to the recording.
Okay.
The recording is actually meant for your subconscious mind. The subconscious mind is always listening. Have you ever had it happen where you want to do this, but this other thought keeps coming in your head? You want to lose weight, and maybe you lose weight for a little while, and then you eat the mithai. And you say, why did they do that? Have that ever happened?
Oh,
Right?
Yeah.
Right? That's the subconscious. If we don't align the subconscious and the conscious mind, our interventions and our desires do not get fulfilled as much. So, the recording helps to take the subconscious mind and help it communicate with higher power for fixing of these problems. So, this recording is just meant to be relaxing and for sleep. Okay?
You would give it to me.
Yeah, we'll give it to, well, in fact, we'll play it for you right now.
Thank you so much.
Because it should be relaxing, it should help you get to sleep. If it's not, we can modify it, but most people, they're able to listen to it. It's just about 20 minutes long. That's all you gotta do. Hit the play button, go to sleep. It's a little odd. It asks yes/no questions, but and there's instructions in the recording, but you can just ignore or answer the questions if you like, but it's just a series of questions to help align the mind. And then the last one is the real thing that heals. It's all the things you've been doing. It's the path, the prayers. That's where the energy to heal. It's like a tree. If a tree is cut off from its roots, it can't get the energy. If I somehow reconnect the roots, I wouldn't take credit for doing the healing, because the healing comes from the earth, pulling those roots and sending the energy up. I would be a fool to take credit for that. Maybe some trauma has gotten in the way, interrupted the flow of the roots, but it's the roots that could heal. So if it's Sikhism, you'll find your Sukhmani side helps
Yes.
more because you've cleared up something. Same thing with husband. We don't force anybody, but if you want to make a big difference in his trajectory, and at the very least your peace of mind, which you'll get, but in my experience, the trajectory also changes
Yes.
because you're all connected. If you clear your subconscious field, it has to clear his. But I'm not asking for heart surgery. I'm not saying believe me. I'm saying go listen to something for a few weeks, read a piece of paper for a few weeks, and see if it's true. If it's true, he'll start acting different. If it's not, at the very least you're relaxed and have probably a better relationship with your husband.
Yes. Yeah. I will do it 100%.
Does that make sense?
Oh, totally. Yeah.
That's the reason for this family meeting. Not to talk about, if I just talk about this negativity, I'll be here for hundreds of hours and still not hear a single thing. Too much.
Right.
It's too much pain, too long. We just need to change how it is delivered. And if we do that, if we change the pain, then all of a sudden all the education makes a difference. Then you can go and attend courses, read books on addiction, how can you support, and you'll be able to do it. These two things that I'm asking will change life. So some people, they come and they say, they're like, yeah, I want to heal, but they don't really want a deep change to their life. These things will result to deep changes in life.
I will.
In the case of addiction, most families are begging for change because the status quo isn't very good. It's a lot of pain for everybody. But if you do these things, then you'll find that the pot and all that stuff that you already do starts to work better and deeper.
Yes.
And then it's in God's hands.
Yeah.
Then at the very least, as a family member, you've done
Yeah.
what you truly can to support.
Yes.
My experience is the person, he does at some level want to get better. I know that.
Of course. Yeah.
But there's big blocks, and I can just see that this is one of those cases that if the family helps out a little, this will go better. I give no guarantees. I guarantee no one's results because I'm not God. If I were God, I'd do that. I'm not God. But I can do what I can, and this is one of those things that I found to be helpful. Okay?
Yeah. 100%. Thank you so much.
So I'm going to give you these things.